Welcome to another episode, Chosen One. And let's not waste a single second pretending the world didn't just shake itself awake because of you. The silence around you these days isn't random. It's the kind of silence that makes guilty people look over their shoulders. It's the kind of silence that exposes who was pretending, who was plotting, and who was praying you'd fall apart just one more time so they could laugh about it behind closed doors. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still chilling like the story was never about them to begin with. You want to know what really bothered them? It wasn't your anger, it wasn't your tears, it wasn't your mistakes. What bothered them was when you stopped reacting, when you left their little stage and let them perform their drama alone. When they said, "Look who thinks they're too good for us now," but deep down they were shaking because suddenly the one they mocked wasn't playing anymore. When they whispered, "The legend needs to bow." But you stayed calm, silent and untouchable, like someone who already knew how this story ends. When they tried to provoke you, drag you, bait you into a fight that would feed their ego, and you gave them nothing but a quiet, cold smile that said, "Your fire doesn't burn me." Press the like button and subscribe to return the energy and keep this message moving through the world. Now let's get back to the part that scares them, your detachment. They don't understand what you are, and that confusion eats them alive. You walked out of their chaos like someone who finally woke up from a nightmare and realized the monsters weren't even real. You left them talking to themselves, defending themselves against arguments you never even joined. The irony is wild. They wanted so badly to be the ones who ruined you, but all they did was expose themselves. A calm wolf terrifies the forest more than a roaring lion because it hunts in silence and strikes without warning. And that's you now, calm, focused, unreachable. They don't hate you because you did something wrong. They hate you because you refused to play their game. You became the one thing their ego was never prepared for, someone who cannot be controlled. When they threw chaos your way, you didn't flinch. When they tried to embarrass you, you didn't panic. When they tried to pull you back into the same old cycle, you just smiled like you had already outgrown the whole plot. They said you were weak for being quiet, but that quietness was the moment the universe wrapped its power around you. They thought silence meant surrender, but silence was your weapon. Understand this, they were never fighting you, they were fighting the force behind you, the quiet strength the universe built in you over years of pain, confusion, and growth. You aren't some random background character who got lucky. You're the one the whole room senses before you even speak. Whether you've accepted it yet or not, your energy changes the atmosphere. It disturbs the fake. It exposes lies. It tears through masks like wind ripping through smoke. And the people who live behind masks always take that personally. Your detachment didn't appear overnight. It was built from battles nobody clapped for. It was built from nights where you were shattered but still showed up. It came from people who betrayed you, not realizing they were shaping something they'd later fear. It came from heartbreak that forced you to grow up faster than you wanted. It came from moments where you had no one but yourself, and somehow you still survived. Let me remind you of something you forgot. Years ago, you used to explain yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You begged people to see your heart. You tried to prove your worth to people who had already decided you weren't enough for their fragile ego. You fought to keep connections that were draining you dry, and back then they thought they had you figured out. They thought you were predictable, emotional, easy to break. But look at you now, quiet, sharp, detached, free. They panic because the version of you they controlled does not exist anymore. They panic because you grew without asking for permission. They panic because your peace has become louder than their insults. They panic because you're walking the world like someone who finally knows their own value, and nothing threatens insecure people more than someone who no longer needs their approval. When they realized they could no longer control your emotions, they got angry. Not because you're cold, but because you're free. Freedom offends people who chain themselves to drama. Your calmness is a mirror that shows them everything wrong with their own lives. Your silence highlights their noise. Your detachment exposes how desperate they were for your attention. And the part that keeps them up at night is simple. You were supposed to break, but you didn't. You were supposed to beg, but you didn't. You were supposed to lose your mind, but instead you found your purpose. You want a story from the past? Fine. Think back to the one time someone pushed you to your limits. They thought you'd explode, fall apart, or run back to them because they believed you couldn't survive without their chaos. But instead, you went quiet. You walked away. You rebuilt yourself from the ground up, brick by quiet brick. They were laughing at first, bragging about how they handled you. But when you started winning again, healing again, glowing again, the laughter died. Their face changed, their energy shifted, because nothing is more humiliating to an enemy than realizing they never had the power they thought they did. That's the same thing happening now. Your detachment is exposing them. Your silence is choking them. Your growth is haunting them. You're not detached because you don't care. You're detached because you finally learned what deserves your care. You finally realized that not everyone deserves access to you. And the universe has been guiding you away from the wrong people long before you understood why. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is clarity. Detachment is strength. Detachment is freedom. They aren't fighting you anymore. They're fighting the universe behind you, and that's a battle they will never win. Chosen one, stand in this quiet power. Let them fear what they do not understand. Let your silence send the message. Let your detachment burn louder than any argument. The universe didn't make you strong for attention. It made you strong for protection. And now the world is seeing exactly what you're made of. This is your moment, and trust me, they're bothered for a reason. Chosen one, if you're still here after everything I just dropped, then you already know this message was meant for you. Your detachment shook people who swore they had you figured out, and the fact that you're calm enough to listen right now proves how far you've evolved. Before we move deeper, pay this message back by hitting like, subscribing, and dropping a comment with 777. It lets the universe know you're choosing clarity over chaos. And if you want to boost the mission, leave a super thanks for the team behind this work. Every gift keeps this truth alive, whether it's a penny or a mountain. Nothing is too small when it fuels a voice that protects the chosen. Now breathe for a second, because what comes next isn't light and it isn't gentle. It's the part people tried to hide from you. If you're a true chosen one, you'll feel something pulling you to stay until the very last word. This is where the story sharpens. This is where everything clicks. Let's step into the next layer. Number 1, they tried to break your center, but your silence broke their nerves first. Funny how they screamed for attention, but the moment you went quiet, their whole world started shaking. They thought they were the puppeteers, chosen one. They thought they were the ones pulling strings, whispering lies, twisting stories, and throwing tiny jabs wrapped in fake smiles. But the moment you stopped reacting, the moment you stopped feeding their chaos, everything flipped. Your silence didn't just bother them, it exposed them. It dragged every insecure part of them into the light. And the crazy part? You didn't even move. You didn't argue. You didn't defend yourself. You simply detached, and they spiraled like they were caught committing a crime. This is what people don't admit out loud. Your silence had volume. It hit harder than any comeback. It made their insults feel childish. It showed the world who was unstable and who was unbothered. They said you were cold because you chose peace over fake love. They said you were arrogant because you stopped performing for their applause. They said you changed because you stopped shrinking to fit their weak expectations. But deep down, they knew the truth. You didn't change. You finally stopped pretending. They tried to clip your wings because your calm made too much noise. And trust me, they heard it. Your quiet confidence exposed their desperation. Your clean energy highlighted their mess. You walked into rooms with nothing but truth in your chest, and it made their lies itch. Your presence was a mirror they didn't want to face. So they tried to distort it. Gossip, half smiles, twisted stories, passive-aggressive digs. It wasn't random. It was strategy, a bad one. Because the entire time they were trying to make you look small, they were accidentally showing how threatened they were. Here's the part that hits them the hardest. You weren't reacting. You weren't playing their game. You weren't panicking like they planned. They tried to provoke you, but you didn't take the bait. They tried to shame you, but you stayed composed. They wanted you to lose control so they could say, "See, we told you they're unstable," but you refused to give them a performance. And when you refuse the role they wrote for you, the whole play collapses. The universe didn't let their traps destroy you. It used their traps to wake you up. All those times you felt isolated, you weren't being punished. You were being upgraded. You were being led away from people who were secretly competing, secretly jealous, secretly hoping you'd fail so they could pretend they were better than you. That isolation pushed you into your power. It trained your mind. It sharpened your instincts. It cleaned out your circle. What they called abandoning you was actually them removing themselves because they couldn't match your growth. You outgrew their noise. You outgrew their expectations. You outgrew their small world, and they felt it long before you did. Here's a truth they'll never admit. They miss your energy. They miss the light you brought. They miss having you around because your presence made their dull lives feel brighter. But they couldn't handle your realness, so they tried to dim you. They talked behind your back, hoping the rumors would stunt your growth. Instead, it pushed you further into yourself, and that's where you found strength they never saw coming. Let's get real for a moment. You weren't one of them. You were just standing near them, and that difference is what terrified them. People treat you like a threat when they can't label you. Your detachment made you unpredictable. Your stillness made you unreadable. They couldn't tell if you were done, if you were planning, or if you were leveling up. That uncertainty is what kept them awake at night. They wanted you desperate, but you turned distant. They wanted you emotional, but you turned calm. They wanted you confused, but you turned focused. They kept expecting you to run back to reclaim their approval. They waited, they watched, they whispered, but you didn't return. You didn't beg. You didn't ask, "Why did you leave me out?" You simply walked past their door and never looked back. And that, chosen one, is the moment the entire storyline shifted. Your detachment was the checkmate they never saw coming. A quiet mind is dangerous in a loud world. It cuts deeper than anger and lasts longer than revenge. That's you. You didn't yell. You didn't throw a tantrum. You didn't expose their games. You simply stepped away, and stepping away removed their power completely. They hated how graceful you were. They hated how mature you acted. They hated how nothing they did could shake you anymore, because once you learn the truth of who someone is, they can no longer manipulate your reaction. Let's hit this even deeper. They didn't isolate you because you were weak. They isolated you because they were terrified of who you were becoming. Invitations slowed down. Messages changed tone. People acted weird. Conversations felt off. That wasn't coincidence. That was fear, disguised as distance. They hoped leaving you out would break you. They hoped you'd come crawling back, asking why. Instead, you started blooming in places they weren't invited. They told themselves you'd come running back. But you never begged for tables you were destined to flip. Right now, they're watching you from a distance, trying to understand how you stayed standing after everything they threw. How you found peace in places they expected you to break. How you kept your spirit clean while theirs grew darker and smaller. They want to know how you kept ascending when they tried so hard to trap you in the dirt. The answer is simple. You weren't built for their level. You were built to outgrow it. You're not invisible. You're inaccessible, and that's what bothers them. Your solitude didn't weaken you. It transformed you. It cleared your mind. It forced you to face yourself. It made you stronger in ways they will never understand. While they were busy running from their own shadows, you learned how to sit with yours. While they were obsessed with being liked, you learned how to be true. While they chased attention, you built power. You didn't lose them. They lost access to you, and they will feel that forever. They tried to clip your wings because your silence made too much noise. But guess what? Your wings grew back sharper, stronger, wider. Chosen one, you didn't break. You evolved. You didn't fold. You focused. You didn't lose yourself. You found your real self. And now they're standing there confused, bothered and shaken because the person they tried to weaken turned into the version of you they feared the most. You're not just detached, you're untouchable. And the universe is watching you rise exactly where they tried to keep you from standing. This is your era now, and they know it. Number 2, they tried to stir a hurricane, but you stood there like the eye of the storm. Funny how they create storms, then get mad when you don't drown in them. They don't attack your strength, chosen one. They attack your silence. They attack the part of you that refuses to panic, refuses to argue, refuses to dance to their noise. Your peace threatens people who survive on chaos. Your calm exposes their instability. Your detachment is the one thing they can't hack, can't predict, and can't manipulate, and that drives them wild. They throw storms because your silence refuses to shake. They scream louder because your mind stays still. They create drama because your heart doesn't move for nonsense anymore. When they can't touch your peace, they try to burn the ground around you, hoping you'll leap into the flames just to show emotion. Outbursts, crises, fake emergencies, all of it engineered to pull you back into their circus. They don't want resolution. They want control. They want your attention because without your reaction, they feel invisible. Your silence is the verdict they fear but can't overturn. Imagine this. You're standing in a room while someone flips chairs, slams doors, and throws tantrums, all while staring at you to see if you'll crack. But you don't. You breathe. You stay centered. You stay grounded. That calmness isn't weakness, it's power, and power makes insecure people frantic. Imagine this next one. They're shaking a cage they built for you, yelling, rattling the bars, but you're not inside anymore. You quietly walked out a long time ago. Now they're screaming at an empty prison, hoping you'll forget you're free. Another one. Think of them as a storm trying to swallow a mountain. They swirl, they rage, they howl, but the mountain doesn't move. That's you. That's why they're angry, not because you hurt them, but because they can't move you. And here's the last one. Picture them lighting match after match, trying to set your peace on fire. But the flame dies every time it gets near you. Not because you're cold, but because you're built of something their heat can't touch. When manipulation doesn't work, they call it miscommunication. When guilt trips fail, they call you heartless. Your silence feels like judgment to them. Even when you're not judging at all, your stillness makes them see their own reflection. Your calmness feels like authority. Your refusal to be baited makes them feel powerless in a game they thought they controlled. And the moment they realize they can't shake your center, they escalate. They twist words. They invent problems. They attack your character, not because you're wrong, but because your peace makes them question themselves. They don't want your growth. They want your reaction. They want you back in the emotional mud pit where they feel strongest. They want you tangled in drama because drama is their oxygen. Without it, they suffocate. And your detachment. It's the one thing that takes that oxygen away. Stillness is not the absence of power. Stillness is power choosing not to waste itself. You're not confused about who you are anymore, chosen one, and that's why the world around you feels different. They push your values, hoping you'll bend. They poke at your identity, hoping you'll flinch. They pressure you to speak, hoping to grab onto something they can twist. But you've learned something that terrifies them more than anything. Not every battle is yours. Not every fire deserves your water. Not every scream deserves your voice. They mimic emergencies to trigger your instincts. Sudden crises, sudden guilt, sudden "I need you." But you're not falling for that anymore. You're not chosen to save people from their own patterns. You're chosen to recognize when the story isn't yours and walk away without regret. Imagine how that feels to them. Someone they couldn't control. Someone who doesn't break. Someone who doesn't respond. Someone who doesn't fold. That's a threat to every manipulator alive. They built their entire identity around thinking they could shake you. When they couldn't, they panicked. They need your reaction to feel real. Your detachment makes them feel like ghosts in their own life. Your peace makes them feel like background characters in your story. And deep down, they know it. They weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing the power they had when you didn't know your worth. Chosen one, hear this clearly. Your silence isn't passive. Your silence is mastery. Your stillness is not weakness. It's strategy. It's alignment. It's the universe saying, this is not your battlefield. You're the kind of person who can walk through noise without absorbing it. You can sit in a storm without losing your breath. You can watch someone try to trigger you and feel nothing but clarity. That's what makes you dangerous to people who feed on reactions. And yes, you may wonder sometimes, why do people go crazy when I stay calm? Why do they escalate when I step back? Why does my silence feel like an attack to them? Here's why. Your detachment exposes their internal chaos. Your calmness reveals their lack of self-control. Your silence forces them to face who they really are, and people who refuse to face themselves will always attack the one who exposes their truth without saying a word. They throw storms because storms are all they know. You stay still because stillness is who you've become. They want you reactive. You choose responsive. They want you emotional. You choose intentional. They want you rattled. You choose rooted. They want you tangled. You choose free, chosen one. You're not here to play in every storm thrown your way. You're here to understand which storms are sent to test you and which storms are sent to distract you from rising. The universe doesn't want you drained. It wants you disciplined. It wants you powerful. It wants you unmoved. Your detachment is not a flaw. Your detachment is evolution. And evolution always scares the ones who refuse to grow. You didn't beat their chaos by fighting it. You beat their chaos by refusing to participate. And that chosen one is exactly why the storm keeps losing power every time it comes near you. Number 3. The more they panic, the more deadly your quiet becomes. Their screams aren't strength. They're the sound of someone losing control over you in real time. Your silence cuts sharper than anything they could ever shout, chosen one. Every time they raise their voice, every time they throw another tantrum, every time they try to corner you with chaos, your calm slices straight through the lie they were living in. People who depend on drama to feel powerful cannot survive when you stop feeding their fire. And the moment you detach, their whole identity starts shaking like a tower built on wet sand. Imagine this, a torch swinging wildly in the dark, hoping to scare you, but your stillness makes the flame flicker and reveal their trembling hands. That's what's really going on. Your silence doesn't ignore them, it exposes them. The loudest person in the room is usually the weakest one hiding the most. They scream because you don't react. They push because you don't bend. They escalate because you don't break. Your calm becomes a mirror they can't escape. They see their desperation. They see their manipulation. They see the ego they tried to hide under fake confidence. The louder they get, the clearer everything becomes. Not about you, but about them. And here's what might be running through your mind. Why do they get worse when I get quiet? Because your silence proves what they feared. They never had power, they only had access, and the moment you pulled that access away, their entire illusion crumbled. Your silence isn't a performance, it's discipline, it's mastery, it's the universe saying, you've outgrown this level, keep walking. Imagine them swinging their chaos like a broken weapon while you stand miles above them on solid ground. They can't reach you, they can't crack you, they can't pull you back into the storm they live in. Still waters don't make noise, they make impact. They thought screaming would shake you. Instead, it sharpened you. They thought chaos would break you. Instead, it revealed you. Chosen one, your silence is not the absence of power. Your silence is the power, and every day you stay centered, they feel it slicing deeper. Number 4, when they can't break you, they try to rewrite you. People don't describe you, they confess themselves every time they talk about you. When they can't control your moves, chosen one, they start controlling the narrative. That's their last cheap weapon. They rename you because they can't reach you. They call you cold because your warmth is no longer free. They call you arrogant because your boundaries finally have teeth. They call you distant because your energy is no longer something they can snack on whenever they're bored. None of these labels reveal who you are. They reveal how much your absence stings. Imagine someone trying to grab smoke. The harder they squeeze, the more they lose. That's them trying to define you now. You slipped from their hands, and instead of admitting their grip was weak, they rename the smoke so they don't have to face the truth. When they can't control your emotions, they target your reputation. It's the only battlefield where they think they still stand a chance. They rewrite your character because your silence ruined their script. They twist your evolution into ego because they miss the version of you who overgave, over-explained, and apologized for things you didn't even do. Your boundaries feel like betrayal because they were eating well off your lack of them. The moment you stopped catering to their fragility, they panicked, and panic always comes out as insults. Imagine this: you walk out of their chaos with clarity, and they scream, "Look, they're acting different." Of course you're different. Growth looks disrespectful to people who refuse to grow. They renamed you because your real name now tastes like accountability. Chosen one, let them talk, let them rename, let them paint their fantasies. You know who you are. The universe knows who you are. And deep down, so do they. That's why they're loud. Your evolution isn't arrogance. Your boundaries aren't cruelty. Your distance isn't coldness. It's freedom. And freedom always offends those who never had it. Number 5. They throw their shadows at you because they can't face their own. Accusations aren't truth. They're smoke signals from someone trying to hide their own fire. Chosen one, your detachment is a mirror that doesn't blink, and that alone terrifies people who've spent their whole lives running from themselves. When they look at you and see someone calm, centered and unbothered, they panic. They can't process what your peace says about their chaos, so they do what insecure people always do. They project. They take their fears, their wounds, their broken identity, and they smear it onto your name. They call you arrogant because they feel small next to your growth. They call you cold because they relied on the warmth you no longer give for free. They call you fake because they can't keep up with the version of you that healed beyond their reach. People don't project onto you because they see who you are. They project because they're terrified you'll see who they are. Imagine this: someone standing in front of a mirror throwing paint at it, hoping the reflection will disappear. That's them. They're not attacking you. They're attacking the truth your presence exposes. Or this: think of a person shouting at their own shadow, but the moment you walk by, they blame you for it. Your existence makes their unhealed parts louder. Projection is a weapon for people too fragile to face reality. They attack your independence because it reminds them of their emotional dependence. They attack your clarity because it exposes their confusion. They attack your calm because it highlights how easily their world falls apart. What they say about you is the story they're too scared to tell about themselves. Chosen one, every insult thrown your way is really a confession, a quiet admission of insecurity, a silent scream for help, a desperate attempt to make you doubt yourself so they can regain the control your detachment stole from them. And here's the part you might wrestle with. Do I need to defend myself? Should I correct what they're saying? No. You don't owe them emotional labor. You already carried your own healing. You already faced your shadows. You already did the work they refuse to do. They want you to hold their pain so they can stay comfortable. They want you to carry their guilt so they never have to grow. They want you to absorb their insecurities so they don't drown in them. But chosen one, do not pick up what is not yours. Their shadows do not belong on your shoulders. Their fears do not belong in your identity. Their projections are not your truth. They're simply echoes from people who lost access to the version of you they depended on. Let them project. Let them panic. Let them twist the story. Your detachment isn't the problem. Their refusal to face themselves is, and the universe will handle the rest. Number 6. Your detachment didn't damage them. It revealed their true face. Your distance wasn't the knife. Their reaction was the confession. Chosen one, here's the truth they choke on. Your detachment didn't hurt them. It exposed them. It peeled the mask right off their faces. Detachment is clean. Detachment is controlled. Detachment is unapologetic. It's the moment you stop feeding their ego and suddenly their whole identity collapses. They call it cruelty because clarity terrifies people who've survived on confusion. Imagine this: a spotlight turning on in a dark room. Everyone freezes. Not because the light harmed them, but because it showed everything they were trying to hide. Your detachment was that switch. When they say you changed, what they mean is they can't use you anymore. You stopped playing the roles they wrote for you: the comforter, the fixer, the emotional sponge they squeezed whenever they felt empty. They depended on your empathy like a lifeline, twisting it whenever they needed power. The moment you detached, the spell broke, the illusion shattered. They didn't lose a person, they lost control. And people who lose control always rewrite the story. Imagine someone leaning on a wall every day of their life, only to find it gone one morning. They fall, not because the wall attacked them, but because they were relying on something that was never supposed to hold their entire weight. That's your detachment, the removal of a support they abused. You're not cold, you're focused. You're not distant, you're disciplined. You became a mirror they cannot escape. Your peace forces them to face their own instability. Your silence shows them their chaos. Your discipline reveals their lack of control. Instead of healing, they lash out. Instead of reflecting, they blame. Instead of growing, they paint you as the villain. Why? Because villains don't ask for accountability. Heroes do, and they're not ready for that conversation. Your detachment cut their illusion off at the root. They claimed you hurt them, but you didn't. You simply stopped carrying what wasn't yours. Your peace is your power now, and their reaction proves it. Number 7, you ended their entire playbook the day you walked off the field. When the puppet stops moving, the puppeteer is the one who falls apart. Chosen one, you broke the whole damn game the moment you stopped playing it. Manipulators survive off reaction. Your guilt, your fear, your confusion, your emotional energy, that was their currency. That was their power source. And the second you detached, the entire economy of their manipulation crashed like a dying empire. Imagine this: a carnival that only works when you buy a ticket. The rides stop, the lights flicker, the whole place goes silent the second you walk past the gate without paying. That's what happened when you stopped reacting. Their chaos carnival died the moment you refused to step inside. Your silence wasn't avoidance, it was bankruptcy. You drained their power by refusing to fund their nonsense. They escalate now because they're desperate. They're switching masks like actors who forgot their lines, hoping one character will still get a reaction out of you. Guilt, anger, victimhood, blame. They cycle through them like broken software glitching for attention. But you're unreachable now. You don't flinch. You don't fold. You don't explain your reality to people who twisted it for entertainment. Imagine someone throwing darts at a wall, but the target isn't there anymore. They keep throwing, missing, sweating, spiraling, and you're miles away, unbothered, healed, and out of range. That's why they're loud. That's why they're erratic. They're fighting a ghost of who you used to be. You were the engine the whole time. They weren't driving you. You were powering them. They thought they were the ones controlling your emotions, but the truth hits like a slap. They only felt powerful because you allowed access to your emotional world. And now, you unplugged the cord. You shut down the supply. You removed yourself from the battlefield. Their drama has no fuel without you. Their manipulation has no stage without you. Their chaos has no meaning without your reaction. You didn't just walk away, you ended the game. And they're stuck replaying strategies that no longer work, trying to win a battle that no longer exists. Chosen one, that's real power. They feel it every single day. Number 8, your stillness is a code. Their chaos brain can't decode. Your calm isn't silence, it's a language only the powerful understand. Chosen one, your calm is the one thing they can't copy, can't fake, and definitely can't control. It's not emptiness, it's not apathy, it's not you not caring. Your calm is discipline wrapped in clarity. It's emotional self-mastery they've never seen before. When you go quiet, they assume you've shut down, but really, you've leveled up. You're calculating, you're observing. You're choosing your moves with surgical precision while they're spiraling over their own noise. Imagine this: two people in a burning room. One screams, one thinks. Guess who survives? You're the quiet one, the one who strategizes while everyone else loses their mind. Calm is not passive. Calm is controlled power, waiting for the right moment. Your silence starves drama. Chaos can't grow where you refuse to feed it. You don't throw fuel on fires you didn't start. You don't swing back at shadows. You don't chase after noise pretending to be urgency. You're not shut down. You're selective. You're not numb. You're in command. Imagine someone trying to drag you into quicksand, but you're standing on stone. They sink deeper, confused why you're not sinking with them. That's your calm. Their chaos has nowhere to latch onto. People fear your stillness because it exposes their instability. Those who lack inner peace can't recognize calmness as strength. They misinterpret it as coldness because they cannot imagine moving through life without panic, noise, and emotional chaos. They scream because silence makes them feel irrelevant. They create drama because your grounded nature makes their turbulence obvious. They call you detached because they've never experienced someone who doesn't emotionally bleed on command. Your calm repels the chaotic and attracts the authentic. The fake can't breathe in your atmosphere, but the real ones feel safe around you. Your energy tells the truth without a single word. You're not numb. You're not disconnected. You're not too calm. You're in control. And to people ruled by their impulses, that control looks like sorcery. Chosen one, your calm is your crown, and it sits heavy on those who can't carry their own. Number 9. Your distance turned into the mirror they can't break. They weren't exposed by your words. They were exposed by your absence. Chosen one, your detachment became the one mirror they can't shatter, outrun, or lie to. You didn't call them out. You didn't blast them. You didn't drag them into the light. You simply stepped back, and in that silence, every mask they wore cracked on its own. Your detachment forced them to face the emotional wreckage they'd been hiding behind: excuses, manipulation, and fake confidence. Imagine this: a room full of people performing for attention, laughing too loud, talking too big, and suddenly you walk out. The spotlight goes with you. The noise stops meaning anything. Their performance collapses because the one person who saw the truth refuses to play along. That's what your detachment did. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was evolution. You didn't just leave people, you left patterns, cycles, emotional traps disguised as loyalty, systems that required your silence to keep their comfort intact. You stopped participating in dynamics that drained you dry. You stopped shrinking your truth so their egos could breathe. And the moment you chose yourself, they felt it like a slap they still can't recover from. You didn't lose them. You lost the version of yourself that tolerated them. You belong to yourself now, and that makes you untouchable. People resent that kind of power, not because it harms them, but because it reveals everything they've been running from. Your detachment is truth in its purest form. Clean, sharp, undeniable. They admired it when it benefited them. They resented it when it exposed them. Imagine someone staring into a mirror that shows every flaw they refuse to fix. They don't break the mirror because it's wrong. They break it because it's right. You didn't lose anything by leaving. You reclaimed everything they drained. You walked out of their maze and found the door they pretended didn't exist. That's why your detachment bothers them. It freed you and revealed them. Number 10. You shattered their power the moment you stopped handing them yours. They never controlled you, they just controlled the version of you that didn't know its own strength. Chosen one, every time you chose silence over reaction, every time you picked peace instead of panic, every time you stayed centered while they tried to drag you into emotional quicksand, you weren't just protecting your energy, you were dismantling the throne they built on top of your confusion. Their power only existed in the gaps where you doubted yourself. The moment you reclaimed those pieces, their illusion collapsed like a rigged game finally exposed. Imagine this, a magician doing tricks for a crowd, sparkles, smoke, fake surprises, and suddenly one person in the audience stands up and walks away. The trick doesn't fail because it's wrong. It fails because someone finally saw the wires. That someone was you. You didn't destroy their power. You revealed it was never real. You walked away from the emotional system they depended on, the guilt loops, the reactive traps, the unspoken agreements where you dimmed yourself so they felt brighter. Your detachment forced them to confront their own emptiness, the same emptiness they tried to patch with your attention, your empathy, your presence. And nothing scares insecure people more than facing themselves without your energy to hide behind. You stopped shrinking, you stopped explaining, you stopped offering your power like a gift to people who never earned it. And when you stopped shrinking, the entire universe shifted behind you. Your clarity became a weapon, your discipline became a boundary, your silence became authority. Suddenly, the ones who relied on your confusion couldn't breathe in your presence anymore. They thrived on you, not knowing your worth, and now they're drowning in the truth of it. Your detachment isn't you stepping back, it's you stepping fully into yourself. They call it distance because they can't understand elevation. They call it coldness because warmth without access feels threatening. They call it arrogance because they can't stand that you no longer orbit around their insecurity. But you didn't just take your power back. You shattered the illusion that they ever had any. You reclaimed the throne they tried to build on your uncertainty. You reclaimed the confidence they fed on. You reclaimed the clarity that exposes every lie they used to control the narrative. Your detachment isn't absence, it's presence at its highest level. It's the universe placing you exactly where chaos can't reach. And now they're left staring at the truth they fear most. Without your energy, they were never powerful. Without your confusion, they were never in control. Without your reaction, they were never the villain. Just scared people pretending to be important. Chosen one, this is your rise, and their illusion will never cage you again. So your detachment didn't just confuse them, chosen one, it freed you. You walked out of their chaos and stepped into your real power, and now the whole world feels the shift. Hold that energy, protect it, live from it. And if this message hit you where you needed it most, press the like button if you haven't already, and if you're still not part of our family, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your rise is just getting started, and this channel will walk every step of that journey with you.